we are going to assume that tomorrow morning, Ryder from Cedar and Vine has an advisory call with one of their clients. So you'll see here on my screen that I've started to prep with a basic prompt saying, tomorrow morning, I've got this Q1 2026 advisory call with Acme Vet Clinic. I've attached a transcript from the last time we did this call. Now, you could pull a transcript through a connector with Claude. You could pull it from your operating system. In this example, I just pulled it as a PDF off the transcript tool and dropped it in here. Then I also included the most recent profit and loss statement, the balance sheet, again, coming from your GL system. So I have QuickBooks, P&L, and balance sheet that I've added here. And then I've actually connected this in a way that it's going to also pull from Karbon. It's pulling an engagement letter, the onboarding questionnaire, internal client profile, and recent client emails and internal communication regarding the client. It's going to retrieve that from Karbon. Now, if you don't have that connection set up, you can screenshot, you can do PDFs, you can connect it to your Gmail to pull these in. You can do a whole host of things to get the data and the content into Claude. So this is a basic advisory prep. When I ran this, it then asked me what formats do you want to see this content in your prep materials? And I chose a dashboard and a document. So it asked me how much I want to pull from Karbon. I chose full pull. And then what's the priority focus for tomorrow's call? We're going to talk about the Q1 financial story. I'm going to help our client interpret the story of what happened in Q1. And then most importantly, when it comes to advisory, we're going to look forward. What forward-looking advice can I provide them? So it started to then do its thing. It went to Karbon and pulled in the client. It pulled in the context, and it drafted this dashboard or prep dashboard for the call tomorrow. So a bit about the KPIs, the headline. Actually, I shouldn't skip that because here's the most important things, the three signals. It's not a crisis, but there's a pattern that needs a real conversation. There's some trends down here, the Q4 to Q1 movement, which has come from the financial statements, 5 things to talk about in priority order. And then this it's pulling from the last transcript. Remember, I gave it the transcript from our last advisory call. It's pulling in the things that we said we would do and checking to see, did we get these done for that client? And then it's prompting some things to ask about on the call. So Diana is the office manager at the client site, and it knows who Diana is, and it knows to ask about these things because it's read emails that we've exchanged with Diana since the last time we met. Megan is the doctor who's going to be on the call. And again, Megan was on the previous call. And so it's asking, where are we at with things like the May health insurance renewal? Let's talk about the distributions for the quarter. It also gave me this briefing document. So to show you what that looked like from an output, here's a doc. This is an internal doc. This is intended for a rider to prepare for the call. And you can see the key numbers at a glance, the Q1 story. It's basically prepping you for that conversation. Now, as somebody who used to run an advisory firm, I was the blocker to this work because I was the one who had the expertise, the ability to pull from various places, whether that was an email, a conversation, last time's financials, whatever that was. I was able to pull it all together and orchestrate it and give it back to the client in a way that was really consumable. It was something that, unless you had experience, that was really challenging to do. And here Claude is running that scenario and giving some really great outputs to kick off that call. So to take this a few steps further, again, it summarized some of the things in here, but I asked it also right here. Compare these numbers against industry norms for vet clinics at this revenue band. Again, an advisory moment that wasn't easy to pull together without something like Claude or an AI tool. And how far off from these benchmarks are we? And so again, it gave me some content in here to look at, as well as it adjusted the conversation to have tomorrow. Sometimes as advisors and accountants, we tend to just jump to the financials. We forget this human layer where we can really build relationship with our clients. And so I threw in this one last prompt saying, what's one thing I should personally remember to do on the start of tomorrow's call? Because in every call you have with a client, I believe every single one, there's at least one golden nugget that is an element of personal information that you can use to build a relationship. And so I asked it about this from the previous transcript, and it reminded me that Megan, the doctor, she had her daughter's school pageant, and that's why she ran late on the previous call. So there's something here to ask, how's Aspen? How's she doing? How was that pageant? There's a moment there. So when we talk about skills, literally, if this was my process for preparing for an advisory call with clients, I could prompt here saying, now turn this into an advisory call prep skill. And I could hit enter and it would start to build it as a skill that you can then pull on as you prepare for your next advisory call.